We're always on the lookout for settings in games that some people might find useful when playing. In this video, we're going to be looking at Control and go through the button inputs and settings. Control is an action-adventure game that's available on PS4, Xbox and PC. The story follows a government director called Jessie making her way through the Federal Bureau of Control to defeat a supernatural force known as the Hiss. You can use a variety of abilities that you obtain as you progress through the story to defeat enemies. We'll be taking a look at the console version of the game and using a gamepad. However, all settings mentioned in this video can also be found on PC. So let's take a look at the default controls. Left stick will move your character. Right stick moves the camera. Cross on PlayStation and A on Xbox will make your character jump. Holding it down will make Jessie levitate once you have obtained this ability. Holding down square for PlayStation and X on Xbox allows you to interact with objects. And pressing these buttons allows you to switch weapons. If an enemy is on low health, you can seize an enemy by holding down square or X once you obtain this ability. This will make the enemy fight alongside you for a short period of time. You'll know when you have successfully seized an enemy as the health bar will change from orange to blue. Triangle for PlayStation and Y for Xbox acts as your melee attack. Circle for PlayStation and B for Xbox is the evade ability once you obtain it. L1 for PlayStation and LB for Xbox will use your shield ability once you obtain it. R1 for PlayStation and RB for Xbox activates your launch ability once you obtain it. Objects highlighted with a white outline shows that they can be launched. Holding L2 for PlayStation and LT for Xbox will aim your weapon. Pressing R2 for PlayStation and RT for Xbox fires it. For some weapons, you will have to hold the button down to continuously fire. L3 on PlayStation and LS on Xbox makes Jessie sprint as she's moving. R3 on PlayStation and RS on Xbox makes Jessie crouch. It also performs your ground slam attack. Ground slam can only be done once you have unlocked it after obtaining the levitate ability. You can see where your ground slam will land by a transparent circle on the floor whilst levitating. Touchpad for PlayStation or View for Xbox brings up a menu where you can manage weapons and upgrades, as well as view your assets, missions and collectibles. D-pad up toggles your map, and D-pad down toggles between left and right shoulder view. Now we will take a look into the settings. So if we pause the game and go into Options, here we have the settings. You can change the sensitivity of the camera for both horizontal and vertical movements. So if we turn this down to 0, you can see the camera moves fairly slowly. If we go back and push it up to 100 for both, then the camera moves a lot faster. The same can be done whilst aiming. There's an aim assist option where you can attack the enemy with your weapon even if not accurately aiming. This reduces the need for precision with the right stick. Turning on controller aim stickiness slows down the movement of the camera view when aiming and targeting enemies. You can invert the horizontal and vertical camera movements. By default, moving the right stick to the left moves it left, and right moves it right. Turning on Invert Horizontal Camera Aim swaps these movements around, so that moving the right stick to the left will cause the camera to move right, and pushing the right stick to the right will move it left. For default up and down movements, pushing the right stick up will move the camera up, and pushing down will move the camera down. Turning on Invert Vertical Aim swaps these movements around, so pushing up will move it down, and pushing down will move it up. There are several toggle options available for some controls, meaning rather than holding down a button, you can do a single press to activate and another press to stop it. You have toggle options for your shield ability, launch ability, and aiming. So I can just press L1 to use my shield, and press L1 again to drop it. For Xbox, this will be LB. A single press of R1 for the PlayStation or RB for Xbox uses the launch ability, and pressing it again launches the object. For aiming, which is L2 on PlayStation and LT on Xbox, you press once to go into aim mode, and pressing it again will turn it off. You can swap the stick functions so that the right stick is used to move Jesse and the left stick controls the camera. You can remap the buttons in the controls menu so you can customize your own button layout. So if we pause the game, we go into Options, then press R1 for PlayStation or RB for Xbox to move to the controls. Here we have all the controls we can remap. So if you find that pressing L1 for shield is difficult, but you can reach left or right on D-pad, then you can remap this function to D-pad left. So now pressing D-pad left will activate the shield ability. However, you cannot remap the actions to joystick directions, the touchpad, or the options button on PlayStation. For Xbox, the same applies, so you can't remap actions to joystick directions, the view button, or the menu button. Even though you have to progress through the game to use certain abilities, such as evade, shield, and launch, you can still remap the buttons for these from the very beginning of the game. By default, some buttons have more than one function depending on the game situation, such as square on PlayStation or X on Xbox performing the use, seize, and switch weapon actions. If another button is remapped to this, then that button will perform all these actions instead. So if we remap another button to this, such as D-pad left, then D-pad left becomes responsible for use, seize, and switch weapon, depending on the game situation. Button prompts that appear during gameplay, such as for interacting with objects and people, will update to reflect any button remapping you've done. So here, the square button prompt shows up, meaning I have to press square to use this. However, if we remap the interact function to circle, the button prompt will now be circle too. If you remap an action from a button that was already assigned a function, you have to manually assign that function another button. If you don't, you could miss out on using certain actions in the game, as you can exit the menu without remapping all functions to a button. So if we remap the melee ability to cross on PlayStation, then you can see that jump/levitate has no button assigned to it. Now we will be unable to jump until we map a button to this action. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with SpecialEffect.